All right, so we're finally at our last video of investigation 3.1, and the area that we're focusing on is D and E, or the investigation, which is on page 51. So D says for each speed, 50, 55, and 60, tell how far you would travel in the given time, and explain how you can find each answer by using the table, the graph, and the equation. Ooh, okay. See, I should have read this question first before I started this. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Well, that just kind of messed me up. All right, so let's take a look at the graph first. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll use this flip and, all right. So we're going to pick a hard one because we're not going to do all of them. I'm going to leave D1 and D3 to you. All right, and 3 is actually kind of hard. So actually, I'll say you guys can just do D1. All right, and I'm only going to do D2 for only one of these. So 4.5 hours. And we'll do it for 50 miles an hour. So what you have to do, using the table. So we know this is going by 50. All right, 4.5 is between 4 and 5. So basically, what's halfway between 200 and 250? 225. Okay, so that's kind of how you have to look at it. All right, so this is 4.5. All right. Now the other one was that I said you don't have to do is 5 1/4. 5 1/4 is actually kind of hard to do on a table. We're not going to mess with that because you're never going to be asked to do anything that complicated at this particular grade. They'll ask you for 4.5. That's understandable, but that's about the extent of it using a table. So what I want you guys to do is you're going to do D1 and D2 for 55 and 60, and you're doing D1 for 50. So you have to put down the answer for D2 because I already gave that to you. But, so that's what you're going to basically be doing for the table part. Now, for a graph is a little bit easier. You can actually do all three questions for all 3 of them. And the 50 mile per hour one was a black line. And we're looking for 4.5. So 4.5 is right here. All you basically do is go up until you hit the line and then go across. Okay, and surprisingly it's exactly the same, 225. All right, now just to give you an example, with 5 1/4, I know this is 5 1/2, so each thing in between is a quarter, so 5 1/4 is right here, so you need to go up till you hit the line and then go across. All right, so it's going to be an estimate, but you get an idea as to how you figure it out. All right, now using the equation. To use the equation, all you have to do is plug in. And ooh, let's do something different. Okay. So D equals 50 times, for the time, we're saying 4.5. So that's actually 4.5. We're not going to write 4 1/2. All right? It's just not going to work. So times 4.5. And yes, you can actually use a calculator for this. So 50 times 4.5 equals 225. And this is actually showing your work. I'm showing you that I'm multiplying. I don't care about if you know how to multiply decimals or not at this particular stage, because that's not what we're focusing on. All right, the question is, do you know how to use an equation? All right, so basically you're just plugging in for time. All right, now, just out of interest, let's use a 60T. So, what? we're going to use the 5 1/4. So that's going to be 60 times 1/4 is what as a decimal? 25. All right, so I'm going to do 60 times 5.25 to get that answer. So now hopefully you understand why we're using a decimal instead of a fraction. So if we're using a fraction, there's just a whole lot more steps that we have to do, and you would actually have to show your work for that part. Okay, but doing the decimal, I'm assuming you can just use the calculator for that. If you're doing a fraction, I know you're going to have to do all the writing out, so I would expect to see all that. So that's another reason why you wouldn't want to use the fraction for this particular part of the lesson. All right, so you're going to finish that off for the rest of them. All right, so that takes care of D. E, the question is, D1, for each speed, find how much time it will take the students to reach these cities on their route. Atlantic City, New Jersey, about 320 miles from Norfolk. All right, what you have to do, and let me erase this. Okay. All right, what you have to do, oh, what color do I want? Let's do pink. Okay. D, oh, you can't even see that one. All right, that ain't gonna work. Stick a blue. So D equals 50t. All right, are they giving us distance or time? So in E, they're actually giving us the distance. So they're telling us the distance is 320, and then it's 50 times the time. So the question is, what do I multiply 50 by to get 320? So what you're actually doing is you're actually working this a little bit backwards. So what you have to do is do 320 divided by 50. Now if you're looking at this, the easiest way to do this, yes, I can just pull out the calculator. I am actually. So I'm going to do 320 divided by 50, 6.4. So it's going to be 6.4 hours. Okay, because remember, we're trying to solve for time, so you have to specify that it's hours. All right, in the last problem, you should have specified that that was miles. All right, so let me see if this gets any uglier than this. Baltimore, Maryland, about 3/4 of the way from Norfolk to, don't worry about E2. All right, I just want you to do E1 for the other two speeds of 55 and 60. All right, and I want to know the exact time. All right, so this is just good practice to try to figure out how to do these things. All right.